I don't usually instantly recommend games, but there is one trait that gets me to that point. What do you think it is? Is it an incredibly cute art style? A touching storyline that makes you reflect on your own life? An evolving gameplay that actually relates to the story being told? Interesting puzzles, perhaps? Well, those are all very good guesses, even if they are all wrong. The really important thing that gets any game an instant recommendation from me is the ability to pet dogs. And thankfully, Unwording allows you to do just that, so, close this reveal right now and go buy the game. What? You're not convinced? You think that's not enough? What if I told you the game also has all the other traits that I mentioned prior to the dog thing? If you find that impossible, then keep watching because I'll prove it. Well, maybe. People's tastes vary, and I don't know yours. I barely even know my own. But I'll certainly try, and that's all that matters. Unwording has you playing through 3 days in the life of Tom. Our protagonist is unfortunately overcome by what the developer calls negative self-talk and thought patterns, and it's up to us to help him overcome all of that. The story takes place over the course of an hour or so, and offers quite a heartwarming experience that I was really glad to have. While the story is linear and has a clear sequence of events, I can't really tell you what it tries to convey. The way the changes in the character's life happen are somewhat abstract, and as such, it's up to you as the player to interpret the story and apply it to your life however you want. One example that's mentioned in the Steam store page is the bird who kickstarts the change within Tom. Quoting the developer, "One day he forgets to shut his window and lets a mischievous little yellow bird into his life, turning his life upside down." You could take that to mean that literally birds can help people overcome their negative thought processes, or you can infer that maybe it's paying attention to the small things in life, or something. Whichever the case, the game excels in offering a contemplative experience for players to ponder about and possibly relate to their own lives. All of this without a single line of dialogue. One of the most magical things I like about the story though is how intimately connected to the gameplay it is. In the game, Tom goes through 3 days in his life, which all progressively get more colorful and change from 2D to eventually 3D. While these represent significant changes in the gameplay, they also make the evolution in Tom's thought process tangible in a way. Going from 2D to 3D doesn't just represent a change in controls, but also in how Tom is perceiving the world around him, with more and more opportunities. And that's just one example. There are more, but I'll let you find those out for yourself. There is another key thing that changes with each perspective though, the puzzles. The game is a linear experience gated mainly by its puzzles. In order to progress to the next area, you will have to get them all done. To do so, you basically walk around and interact with objects, almost as if in a point-and-click game. Find something you can interact with and you can start a puzzle. Every time the perspective changes, the type of puzzle that will accompany you during your day also changes. The only constant is the fact that they all involve words. In the first type of puzzle, you'll have to rearrange a sentence into something more negative, which is how Tom views the situation. It's a bit depressing and unfortunately will be quite relatable to some of us. Seeing no messages in his phone, for example, will be interpreted as no one cares in his mind. The way you turn a sentence into another is by playing with blocks. Each word in the sentence is divided into blocks that are 1 or 2 letters long. These blocks can also be of different sizes. You can rotate and turn these blocks in a bunch of ways and move them to empty spaces in your goal sentence to form it. While this may seem hard at first, as you have no idea what sentence you're supposed to make, there are features in place to help you out. Basically, the goal sentence's shapes are different, indicating what sort of block goes into that space. A tiny block, for example, can only fit into tiny empty spaces. You can also bring up your character's thoughts related to the sentence you're trying to make, and if you still can't figure it out, you also get 1 or 2 hint blocks that will flat out fill up any one empty space you want in the goal sentence. While I found the puzzles easy, in reality the difficulty may not even matter, as you can just use your hint to discover a letter in the goal sentence, then restart the puzzle to get the hint back. Rinse and repeat. But you wouldn't do that, would you? The Day 2 puzzles are all about perspective. You flip blocks around to align them in a specific way that forms a word. You are then tasked with reorganizing the words you get to put them in the right order to form a sentence. It's honestly one of my favorite kinds of puzzles, so I was glad to see it included, even if it did have issues recognizing that the right word was there at times. These puzzles are also really well designed to give you audio and visual clues. You can again see Tom's thoughts about what you're creating, as well as lines that pretty much just tell you which blocks need to be aligned. And once you're close to forming a word, your screen turns a bit red with a noise accompanying it. And then you get to the third day, and here there are no puzzles really, depending on your definition of the word. You just get text boxes and you type your action out, much like one of those old school text adventures. Except here, your action is literally always just a single word. Not to say that it's an issue, mind you, it's just simpler than most text-based adventures. The other two types of puzzles already might make some players just randomly rotate stuff until something happens, but this third type takes the cake in that front. You will often find yourself typing stuff that makes sense to you until you find the word that was actually coded as the answer. While I enjoyed the puzzles, I think the main problem I found with them is that they just didn't have too much time to shine. It makes sense given that the game is about 1 hour long, but I still wish we got to see more of them, with perhaps evolving mechanics. Still, what is there was interesting enough, and while the third type is simpler, the world being expanded more than makes up for that fact. And if you're struggling with the difficulty, rejoice! The game does offer an easy mode. On other fronts, the game's soundtrack and art style also both evolve with the perspective changes, and they are good. In fact, the art style is simply fantastic. I'm a sucker for all the ones used in the game. You've been seeing all three of them in this video though, so I'll let you judge for yourself. In more technical terms, as the game evolves in perspective, so too do the issues, unfortunately. But don't worry, they are few and far between. My FPS progressively dropped with the advances, which I'm still not sure was a PC issue or a game issue, but the main issue with the 3D was actually the camera, which was rough to deal with at times. Also, the game crashes when I change some video options for some reason, but still, I'm not actually worried about any of this, as this game developer truly does care about his games, and I'm sure he'll fix whatever he can, as he did for his previous and excellent game, Forgotten Fields. Overall, Unwording was a very touching and contemplative experience. While short, it had a profound effect on me, as I'm sure it will for some of you. There are lessons that are all too easy for us to forget in life, and the game really does care enough to remind you of them. And so does the developer, who made it a point to provide a resources link for you to seek help with getting over negative thought processes. I seriously need to highlight just how awesome this is. Just watching the developer's YouTube channel will make you realize how much he loves his work and how much he wants to help those who consume it, and I genuinely believe this is one of the best reasons a person could have to make a game. So to the developer, thank you. And, you know, congratulations on releasing this incredible little game. I actually had a really good time with it. And to those of you who are not the developer, just buy this game, it's good. And alright, that's it for me. If you liked this video, if it was useful to you, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, as both actions really help out my channel. But above all else, leave a comment. I love hearing from all of you. That aside, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you hopefully in the next video. Bye bye!